Do I need to then press the screen share whenever I go to my...
Yeah, you need to press the screen share. Yeah, this is great. We're now live. You press the screen share if you want to share the screen, but you're live, so start talking.
Okay. Well, aloha here from Haleiwa, Hawaii. This is Colin James with Hawaii Metal Roofing Supply. Just wanted to answer a question a lot of people have asked me about the cost of different types of roofing and a little bit of a cost comparison. And one of the things I think is most important that people would really be asking as a question is, what's the actual long-term cost and the long-term value of a home? How long will a roof last is really a more important question than how expensive or how much does a roof cost. So I'm going to go through that a little bit here, just with a little bit of roofing costs, a little bit of an analysis here. Now this is just a market at a glance, just a comparative price of various products. I'm giving you some numbers from Hawaii based on what we're seeing here for the market price. And I'll start off here just giving you just basically say a 6,000 square foot home. If inflation was at 5%, we can change this number even to 3% to make it even probably closer to reality. And homes in Hawaii here, this is going to be for a reasonable home, probably a 3 or 4 bedroom home, just under $1 million, which is actually probably fairly typical of a lot of homes in the nicer neighborhoods here in Hawaii. Now when we look at a few things, we're going to look at the cost per square foot typically. There's a price range, always high or low, depending on who you get to do the work, their quality, their workmanship, and details. We're also going to look at the product attributes. How long will the product last, the curb appeal, the maintenance, the green value. How good is this product for the environment? Life cycle costs, overall performance, quality, and value. So the first product we look at is the asphalt roof. Asphalt's still the most common roof, and it's a tar bitumen product that has gravel, crushed gravel, pressed in different colors and laid on top of your roof. Now, these products for a home, now these prices are not always, pardon me, including stuff like tear-off, removal, if it's a difficult or a steep roof, those extra costs will not necessarily be included. But your price per square foot here in Hawaii is generally going to be around $5 to $7 for a quality installation company to do that. So on a 6,000 square foot roof, you'd have a price of about $30,000 to as high as $42,000. Again, depending on the quality of the work, the details that's going to go into it, and who's doing the actual work and what their markup is. Now, the challenge with asphalt, it's actually the least valuable roof for a lot of reasons. It's got the shortest lifespan. Typically here in Hawaii, we see these roofs are going to last maybe 15, 20 years. They can last longer, but even after 5 or 8 years, they're going to really lose their curb appeal because there's going to be a moss and mildew and algae buildup. They're going to color stain, and they're going to look like an old roof even within 4 or 5 years. One of the biggest problems we see with the asphalt roofs is a lot of guys that are putting them on will only use 3 or 4 nails, and they're not going to use a stainless steel nail. In that case, many of these roofs, in fact most of these roofs in Hawaii, the nails will have rust damage. So there's nothing holding this roof on because the nails are so rusted out, they have no more strength. So a lot of times there's very little left of that roof in terms of holding on your roof, especially in a high wind. We've just seen that recently with literally hundreds of asphalt roofs blowing off. Now, there's also some maintenance on this roof. It's very high because you're going to have to end up trying to clean this roof, and the gutters are coming off of the roof, and the granules are filling up your gutters. It's the least valuable for green roof. It's not a very valuable roof in terms of its green value because it's the hardest roof on the environment. It's they say to 5 to 8% of the toxic waste in our landfills are asphalt roofing. And because it's a tar and bitumen product, it's very difficult to decompose. So it's really causing a huge toxic waste problem in our dump. And in terms of the life cycle cost, it's the most expensive roofs that you can get, one of them, because it just continues to need to be replaced. It's depreciating. So in terms of overall performance and value, it gets the lowest marks. Now the wood roofs, the cedar roofs typically, are going to be anywhere from 8 to 10. We've seen as high as $12 a square foot, depending on if they're a so-called treated cedar wood. Now, the lifespan on those is relatively short. Here in Hawaii, we can generally see 15 to 20 years on those roofs as well. And the curb appeal can be moderately high. They look great when they're first put on. Their maintenance is also high because they can attract moss and mildew and algae, and people will want to clean them. And if the problem with the cedar roofs is they'll tend to crack, and especially if they're being walked on. Green value is low. Only problem with it is they're taking trees and cutting them down and putting them on roofs. So it's taking down our forests to put it on as a roofing product, and it's not recyclable. The life cycle cost is actually the highest and most expensive roof long-term that you'll get is a cedar roof, because they're quite expensive long-term, and you're likely to get 15 to 20 years max. So the performance is reasonably high, but the value is moderate. Now the clay tile and cement roofs are generally quite a good roof, and you can be anywhere from 8 to 12, as high as $15. The challenge with the tile roofs, many times they're very difficult to install. If it's a tricky and what we call a cut-up roof, that's a difficult roof to install. So they can be as high as 15. Now when you look at there's a Japanese ceramic tile, that can be as high as $30 a square or more. And they're moderate value for all the different various reasons. They will tend to last very well. Typically, people can get 20, 25, sometimes even 30 years out of those. The problem being is the concrete that is used as a filler, where these pieces don't quite fit together, that's where we see deterioration. And these, seeing lots of these here in windstorms, where especially the ridge caps are blowing off, and people are going to need to do some repairs. So there is some moderate maintenance required on a clay tile and cement roof. The best roofs are the actual clay tile. The cement and concrete roofs are going to have a little bit more problem because there's dirt and material in that concrete that's going to attract and absorb moisture, and they're more likely to crack. Now the steel roofs here in Hawaii generally are about $9 to $12 a square foot. And the challenge here with steel, obviously in our Hawaii environment, they're going to rust. It doesn't matter what type of coating you put on, wherever you cut that metal at the edge, they're going to have some issues with rusting. And so the green value is fairly high because it can be recycled. But in terms of overall performance, it's good, but in Hawaii, we're really seeing a lot of issues with rusting, especially quickly on those, and they're going to be a bit of a hotter roof. Now, we're seeing tremendous problems with the rubber and synthetic roofs here in Hawaii because there's so much intense UV light. They're breaking down, and many of the companies that have installed the rubber or synthetic tiles here in Hawaii, those products are no longer even in business. Many of these companies have been sued and have actually shut down their operations, and we're finding a tremendous amount of people who have broken rubber or plastic tiles in Hawaii that are now trying to find a roof replacement after even 10 or 12 years. So they are really, in terms of lifespan, I should give this a very short lifespan here in Hawaii, and they're quite an expensive roof to begin with. Now the aluminum roof is one of the premium roofs for this climate in Hawaii. It's also more expensive, but the reasons that it works is its lifespan is very high. People have, with the aluminum roof, they will have a 50-year transferable non-prorated warranty. It has the best long-term curb appeal because of the paint coating on the aluminum roofs, at least the interlock aluminum roofs. There's a DuPont Teflon embedded in the paint. So the paint is designed to not color fade, chip, peel, or crack. And really no maintenance on this roof is ever required because of the Teflon. Moss, mildew, algae, bird droppings, things will wash off because of the rain, and things just will not stick to these roofs as they will tend to stick to other roofs like a steel roof or a tile, or especially an asphalt roof. Now, in terms of the green value, the aluminum roof gets the highest points because this is made of 95% recycled material and up to 100% recyclable. So really, in terms of the green roof, it's the greenest roof for the planet. Life cycle costs are very high. The overall performance is very high. The quality and value is very, very high. Now, other roofs that you can get on the high-end scale are zinc, copper, and real stone tile or slate roofs. And those can be upwards of $25 to $45 a square foot. So, lifespan of those typically is very high as well. And they will tend to be considered as a lifetime roof also. In terms of life cycle cost, they're a little bit more moderate because you're spending generally 2 to 3 times the amount of even an aluminum roof. to get that roof put on your home. Now, when we look at this and break it down in terms of life cycle costs, this would be an average replacement cost for an asphalt roof, for this type of and size of a roof. Let me just back this up a little bit. When we look at the average lifespan of these different types of roofs, these numbers here should actually be a little bit lower. For steel and rubber and plastic, we're really only finding they'll last about 10 years. And in Hawaii, 10 years is probably a more accurate number for the steel roofs as well, because of the issues with rusting and color fading. And the permanent premium quality roofs, the aluminum, zinc, copper, they're lifetime roofs, as you see here. Now, when you look at price per square foot, this we're saying $4. More likely it's going to be about $6 here on average, and wood is probably going to be more like about $10 here on average. Clay tile here is probably going to be about $12 on average. Lifetime roofs here are going to be about 10 to, should be more like 11. Whoops, 11. And steel is probably going to be about 10. I'm just giving more relative to Hawaii comparisons. So when we look at these actual numbers here for Hawaii, a replacement cost for this type of roof could be around $39,000, $40,000. Wood's going to be higher. These clay tile, other roofs are going to be higher. The steel and the aluminum roof are going to be in the $60,000 range. We're talking this is about a 6,000 square foot roof. Now the challenge is when you look at long term, if you're planning on passing this along to your children, this is where it gets really expensive to buy these cheaper, low quality roofs like the asphalt, wood, or clay tile roofs, because they're going to have a replacement cost. And they're also depreciating. When you consider if you were to get 15 years out of an asphalt roof, after 10 years that roof is only worth $13,000 because there's a replacement cost. It's depreciating in value because it's getting closer and closer. It's gone through 2/3 of the span of its life. So it's only got 1/3 of its value left. And you're going to be looking at a replacement cost. And in 15 years, that replacement cost is going to be looking more like closer to $60,000. So the nice thing about the aluminum roofs and the permanent roofs here is they only get replaced once, and they actually appreciate in value. So that roof, the interlock roof or a zinc clay tile roof, these roofs are going to appreciate tremendously in value over the course of time, but there's zero replacement cost. So that roof in actuality only cost you $66,000 one-time cost, where by comparison with an asphalt roof, you're going to spend an additional $31,000, almost $32,000 on roofing costs over the course of just the next 10 years. You're really renting a roof. This is over the course of 10 years, you're renting a roof that's costing you approximately $3,200 in rent every year, and it's depreciating in value. It does not appreciate as an asset as a lifetime and permanent roof would do. We can just look at quickly at cash outlays here for the different costs. You got to keep spending money on these other different types of roofs every certain number of years, and that's where it gets a lot more expensive. So really, when we look at the interlock, the aluminum roof right here, graphically, it's by far the least expensive long-term cost that you'll have for roofing. And when you look at the annual cost of ownership here, that's where it gets really crazy, because even with the increased resale value of 2%, you're getting a tremendous difference in your actual value of what you're buying. Your net incremental upfront cost over asphalt is in reality probably only about $7,500 more on this $66,000 roof when you're looking at actual costs and incremental value. We've seen market resale studies show a 1 to 6% gain by putting a metal roof over an asphalt roof, just because of the curbside appeal and its long-term value. So that's where we're just giving a very conservative number of 2%. Now let's look even at a break-even analysis. We can see just the difference here. A lot of times break-even is going to be 6, 7, 8, 9. Within 10 years, generally, the interlock roofs are going to be appreciating in value, and you'll be breaking even over the cost of investing into an asphalt roof. So even if you're only planning on being in your home 8 or 10 years, you've got to consider what's the break-even cost, and you get to live in that home and not have to clean the gutters every year. So these are just different things that we use to analyze the different costs of roof. And finally, I'm going to give my commercial for the interlock roof. This is the product that we have the exclusive arrangement for here in Hawaii. And when you look at all the different figures that come in terms of curbside appeal, lasting value, lowering your temperature of your home and reducing your air conditioning costs, that's a big, because the asphalt roofs are really not going to be keeping your home cool. The clay tile, rubber, plastic, steel roofs, they're all going to be much hotter than the interlocking aluminum roofs. So for a lot of reasons, there may be, if you want to go over this in more detail, this is really the best value for your roof long term. And in terms of what actual roofs cost, we can certainly figure this out and get actual numbers for your home, just inputting your square footage into this spreadsheet, and then you can get a cost analysis value for your exact home and measure that up for yourself. If you'd like to see this in more detail, I'd be happy to show you how this works and how this functions. So certainly feel free to give us a call, and we'd be happy to come by and take a look at your home for you and give you a pricing. So aloha for now. Have a great day. I'm not hearing you, Scott.
Right. It's okay. What is the website?
And you can check us out at hawaiimetalroofingsupply.com. Aloha.